Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the noise to bring you the core insights from today's most compelling stories. Today, we're plunging into a whirlwind of global events, from groundbreaking cosmic discoveries to significant shifts in international power, and even a few moments that remind us just how wild and unpredictable life on Earth can get.
Indeed. Our sources today really paint a vivid picture, don't they? A world in constant motion,
Definitely.
highlighting interconnected challenges and surprising innovations across a really vast spectrum.
Right.
We'll be meticulously examining the latest in geopolitics, finance, cutting-edge science,
Uh-huh.
and even some deeply human stories that reveal broader, underlying trends.
And our mission for you today is simple, isn't it?
Pretty much. To offer you a genuine shortcut to being remarkably well-informed,
Yeah.
all without that overwhelming burden of information overload we all feel sometimes.
Exactly. We've meticulously sifted through a stack of articles, in-depth research, critical reports, really trying to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, tailored just for you. So, as we embark on this journey, what stands out to you from today's headlines as we begin our deep dive?
Geopolitical quakes and shifting alliances.
Well, first up, I think we have to talk about Ukraine.
Yeah, definitely. The situation there seems incredibly tense. The whole landscape is shifting dramatically.
It really is. Al Jazeera is reporting that Russia has claimed full control over Luhansk.
Which is a strategically vital region in eastern Ukraine, right?
Exactly. And this significant territorial claim comes at a really pivotal moment.
Because the U.S. has apparently suspended some promised weapons shipments. That's what Al Jazeera is saying, too.
That's right. And this isn't just, a logistical hiccup.
No, it sounds like a profound development, especially for a nation that's grown so heavily reliant on external military support.
Absolutely. What's truly fascinating here is the immediate, and you could say far-reaching ripple effect a decision like that creates. We're hearing Ukrainian officials, like MP Mariana Bezuglaya, openly expressing profound frustration.
I saw some reports, RT mentioned some going as far as saying the U.S. is no longer an ally. That's strong language.
Very strong. And the reliance isn't just tactical, it's almost existential.
Right. They need this stuff. Air defense ammunition, missiles, artillery shells.
Critical military supplies, yeah. Without that consistent flow, the very backbone of their defensive capabilities is, well, undeniably impacted.
Leading to a palpable sense of vulnerability, I imagine.
Definitely.
And here's where it gets really interesting, maybe showing some ingenuity born from necessity.
What's that?
Politico reports that some European Union countries are now actively exploring ways to buy U.S.-made weapons for Ukraine themselves.
Trying to circumvent the freeze and direct U.S. aid.
Exactly. It's almost like a carefully orchestrated workaround.
A strategic bypass.
Yeah, for what they perceive as maybe an America First policy.
Right, one aimed primarily at preserving U.S. military stockpiles.
Rather than prioritizing the immediate needs on the ground in Ukraine.
Yeah, this move really highlights both the, let's say, acute desperation within the EU and the urgent need they perceive to sustain Ukraine's defense, even if it means stepping in where the U.S. has, well, paused.
So this development prompts a critical question then. What are the broader strategic implications of such a freeze from the U.S.?
Well, Moscow, as cited by RT, explicitly views this decline in Western support as a clear, unmistakable sign of weakening opposition.
And that could embolden them.
That's the fear. It could significantly embolden their strategic initiatives. For instance, we've recently seen reports of a renewed push from Russia's Kursk region.
Which is in southwestern Russia, bordering Ukraine.
Correct. Pushing into Ukraine's Sumy region.
And Moscow claims the goal is to establish a defensive buffer zone.
That's their claim. But it could easily be seen as an opportunistic expansion. And the conflict remains intensely brutal. RT also reported the tragic death of Major General Mikhail Gudkov.
The deputy commander-in-chief of the Russian Navy.
Yes, in a Ukrainian missile strike targeting a Marine forward headquarters in that very Kursk region near the Ukraine border.
Stark reminders of the ongoing human and military costs.
Absolutely.
And connecting this to the larger geopolitical picture, RT also highlighted a rather barbed exchange.
Oh, yeah. Between who?
Moscow and NATO. It really illustrates the deep animosity.
Ah, right. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte made that sarcastic comment to Fox News.
Yeah, suggesting Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had been in his position since the birth of Jesus Christ.
And it produced nothing useful, in Rutte's view.
Right, but then the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, quipped back.
What did she say?
That Rutte's comment inadvertently proved Lavrov's effectiveness, as he managed to make even NATO officials recall religious figures.
It's more than just a diplomatic war of words, though, isn't it?
Absolutely. It underscores the profound level of antagonism, the breakdown of genuine communication between these major players.
And if we connect this to the broader picture of international relations, this exchange, the whole situation really, it just underscores the fragility
And the chaos.
and increasingly chaotic nature of global diplomacy. There was an RT article reflecting on the 50th anniversary of the 1975 Helsinki Final Act.
Right, the Cold War era agreement.
Exactly. And it served as a reminder that Cold War diplomacy, with its emphasis on sovereignty, peaceful borders, it actually relied on a very clear, albeit tense, balance of power.
A balance that largely dissolved when the Cold War ended.
Precisely. Our modern international environment is fundamentally multipolar, far more unpredictable.
Meaning those outdated security frameworks, those old diplomatic norms.
They're just not directly applicable anymore. They're but sufficient for today's complexities. It's a completely different, much more fluid global landscape we're navigating now.
And speaking of Russia and its immediate neighbors, tensions are undeniably escalating with Azerbaijan.
Right. The country in the South Caucasus region, sharing a border with Russia.
AP News reports Moscow is vocally criticizing the denial of consular access to jailed Russian citizens in Azerbaijan.
And there was that raid on a Russian media outlet in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan.
Yes, RT elaborated on that, reporting at least 10 Russian citizens, including 2 senior journalists from Sputnik Azerbaijan, were detained in Baku.
And Russia is demanding their immediate release.
Unconditional release, yeah.
This unfolding situation. Well, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, Moscow sees it as fundamentally unlawful. And it's reportedly happening against a tense backdrop, too. There was that perceived ethnically motivated police operation recently in Yekaterinburg, Russia.
That's a major city in the Ural Mountains.
Yes, targeting an alleged Azerbaijani crime ring.
So this confluence of events is adding significant diplomatic strain.
To an already delicate relationship, absolutely. Plus, there are now increasing reports of violence and harassment directed against Russian citizens and their families living in Azerbaijan.
It paints a picture of a very tense, potentially volatile relationship unfolding there.
Definitely.
Okay, shifting our focus now to the Middle East. Al Jazeera reports on determined efforts to break the ongoing siege on Gaza through sailing initiatives.
Highlighting the persistent tensions and the severe restrictions imposed by Israel on the region.
Yeah, and this humanitarian effort is set against a truly grim, tragic backdrop.
The casualty figures are just staggering.
Both Al Jazeera and Haaretz report Israel has killed more than 300 Palestinians in Gaza within just 48 hours.
And 82 reported dead since midnight today alone.
Including, alarmingly, aid seekers caught in the crossfire.
The humanitarian situation there isn't just dire, it's a catastrophe unfolding in real time.
This horrific human toll, it just compels us to ask, where do peace efforts actually stand amidst all this escalating violence?
That's the critical question, isn't it? Hamas has reportedly indicated a willingness to pursue a deal for a complete end to the conflict, but hasn't yet formally agreed to that specific 60-day ceasefire plan backed by the U.S. That's according to RT and the Washington Post.
And on the other side?
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has maintained an unyielding hardline stance, unequivocally asserting there's no room for Hamas in post-war Gaza.
Demanding their complete disarmament and vacation from the area.
Exactly. This significant, seemingly intractable gap in demands makes the path to any meaningful resolution incredibly challenging, maybe entirely elusive right now.
The human toll, as you noted, it's just beyond immense. Al Jazeera shared that heart-wrenching video.
The rescue of the woman for the rubble and fire in Gaza City.
Yes, after an Israeli strike, and then, tragically, the director of Gaza's Indonesian hospital, Dr. Marwan Sultan.
Killed, along with several family members, in an airstrike on his home, also in Gaza City.
These aren't just abstract statistics, are they? They're profoundly real lives, irrevocably impacted. It drives home the personal devastation.
Absolutely. And the conflict's ramifications extend beyond direct casualties, too. The Washington Post highlighted those deeply troubling concerns from U.S. contractors.
About colleagues firing live ammunition at Palestinians desperately seeking food?
Yes. That detail just underscores the desperate, increasingly lawless humanitarian situation on the ground.
The extreme perils faced by civilians just trying to survive.
It paints a terrifying scenario of survival under unimaginable pressure.
Connecting this to the broader international response, Al Jazeera reports a United Nations expert issued a really powerful call.
What was that?
Calling on the global community to end trade with what they termed Israel's economy of genocide.
Wow. Emphasizing the urgent need to address alleged abuses against Palestinians.
And raising significant concerns about international companies that might be complicit in Israel's actions.
That's a very strong condemnation from a UN body, signifying heightened international scrutiny, moral urgency. And another significant development, reported by RT, is Iran officially suspending its cooperation with the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Following a directive from President Masoud Pezeshkian.
Correct. This controversial move comes reportedly after joint U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear sites.
And Tehran views the IAEA's reporting as distorted.
Yes, and staunchly denies any intention to develop nuclear weapons, arguing they contravene Islamic principles.
Meanwhile, Israel, which notably isn't a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty,
continues its accusations against Iran, creating an exceptionally volatile and dangerous situation in an already fragile region.
Okay, back across the Atlantic to the United States, Donald Trump continues to be, well, a central figure in the news.
Undeniably prominent.
His often touted big, beautiful bill is currently advancing through Congress.
But not without some drama, right? BBC and CNBC reported on that.
Yeah, House Republicans have struggled significantly to win over holdouts within their own party on his tax and spending legislation.
Late-night sessions highlighting deep internal party divisions.
And just the inherent difficulties of moving major legislation through a divided government.
What's particularly striking here, though, is the robust conservative support this bill has surprisingly garnered.
Really?
Yeah. The Guardian reports Republican voters are overwhelmingly calling this tax and spend legislation a no-brainer. One Montana Republican, William King, effusively praised it as great. And Axios notes the bill includes several under-the-radar provisions.
Offering significant tax breaks for seniors, especially those on Social Security.
Exactly. So despite the internal party friction, there's a clear, enthusiastic base of support for the bill's more popular parts, especially those targeting that key demographic.
Trump is also making waves by publicly and quite aggressively attacking the Democratic mayoral nominee in New York City.
Zoran Mamdani.
Yes, calling him a communist lunatic on Truth Social, according to RT.
Mamdani, who's a self-described democratic socialist, won the Democratic primary.
Right. His platform includes some audacious proposals. Fare-free public transit, rent freezes, universal childcare.
Even publicly owned grocery stores.
Yeah. And Trump went further, threatening to arrest Mamdani if he interferes with immigration and customs enforcement or ICE operations.
That's a very direct, highly confrontational challenge to local governance and established political norms.
It certainly is.
And this public clash, it prompts a crucial question about the very limits of executive authority in the U.S. News Americas Now and Al Jazeera both reported that a U.S. district court in Washington, D.C.
The city on the Potomac River.
Right. Decisively struck down the Trump administration's use of that controversial presidential proclamation 212F.
The one aimed at denying asylum claims at the U.S.-Mexico border by citing an alleged invasion of migrants?
That's the one. The court's ruling was emphatic. Yeah, executive power cannot override laws passed by Congress.
That's a significant legal rebuke to Trump's immigration agenda.
Huge, and widely hailed by immigrant rights advocates as a profound win for humanity and due process. It sets a crucial precedent.
And it seems Trump isn't holding back on economic policy either, signaling a willingness to reshape global trade.
How so?
CNBC and Al Jazeera report he's announced a new trade deal with Vietnam, the Southeast Asian country. It includes a 20% tariff on imports from Vietnam, while U.S. exports would, paradoxically, enjoy zero tariffs.
Interesting balance.
Meanwhile, India, the South Asian nation, has voiced profound concerns to the U.S. about a proposed bill.
The one that could impose a staggering 500% tariff on nations doing business with Russia, specifically on oil trade. RT reported that.
Exactly. And this is particularly relevant because India has become the second largest buyer of Russian fossil fuels since the sanctions started.
It's a complex, ever-tightening web of trade, tariffs, geopolitical pressures.
Yeah.
It could really redefine international economic relationships. Connecting this to the broader picture, that RT article discussing Russiagate is quite telling. It opens up profound questions about intelligence integrity.
You mean the recent internal CIA review? Ordered by Director John Ratcliffe, declassified July 2025.
Yes, it specifically casts significant doubt on the foundational integrity of the 2016 intelligence community assessment regarding alleged Russian interference.
And Ratcliffe didn't mince words, did he?
No. Accusing Obama administration and intelligence leadership of potentially manipulating intelligence, leveraging media leaks.
Not just to inform, but to actively shape public opinion, suggesting a deliberate political motive to undermine Trump's legitimacy.
Precisely. And this isn't just about a past event. It highlights the enduring, deeply contentious debate around the, weaponization of intelligence in political narratives.
And whether intelligence agencies can truly remain apolitical in such a hyper-partisan environment?
Exactly. It's a huge question.
And on a slightly lighter but still politically charged note, Trump publicly called for Fed Chair Jerome Powell to resign immediately.
Criticizing his actions, demanding a 1% rate cut. Al Jazeera reported that.
Yeah. He also faced some blunt criticism himself. Yahoo News called him totally unhinged.
After he made that bizarre personal attack on a lawmaker's appearance, referring to his ugly face.
That's the one. It's certainly a distinctive, often polarizing communication style that keeps grabbing headlines.
And this aggressive public stance, it prompts a critical inquiry into the appropriate role of the executive branch over, supposedly, independent economic bodies like the Fed. What's striking here is how these public statements, these bold policy pushes by Trump, are fundamentally shaping not just domestic governance, but actively impacting international trade relations.
Leading to direct reactions from EU officials, like Henna Verkunen.
Yes, she told RT that digital policies like the Digital Services Act, the DSA, are unequivocally not part of trade talks.
Based on core European values, she said.
Right. A direct retort to Trump's past, calls to knock the F out of the EU's new disinformation law.
Which he claims threatens free speech and American digital influence.
It's a palpable, fundamental clash of values and regulatory philosophies playing out.
And we even hear that Russian President Vladimir Putin has a phone call scheduled with President Trump today, July 3rd.
At 14:00 GMT, RT reported.
Confirming their ongoing direct conversations since Trump's return to the White House in January 2025.
Reportedly focusing on Ukraine, arms control, revitalizing bilateral relations.
Putin even joked about suggesting Trump promote Russian products in the U.S.
A lighthearted moment amid serious talks, apparently. So the direct line between these two leaders is clearly open and active.
Interesting.
And on a fascinating side note, former President Joe Biden, despite being retired,
Yeah.
revealed to RT he continues to receive calls from various European leaders, urging him to re-engage in global affairs.
But he's just offering advice, not actively
Well,
involved.
he stated, focusing on his memoir, not NATO or politics. He did lament, though, that many of his administration's achievements have been systematically rolled back under Trump.
Seems some international leaders still value his experience even in retirement.
Apparently so.
Okay, let's touch on a few other significant political stories unfolding around the world just to paint a broader picture.
Sounds good.
In Colombia, the South American nation leaked audio published by El País, the Spanish newspaper, reveals a truly alarming plot.
What kind of plot?
Former Foreign Minister Álvaro Leiva allegedly sought direct U.S. support Republicans, former Trump admin members, to orchestrate the ouster of current President Gustavo Petro.
Wow.
Purportedly proposed a great national agreement involving various armed groups to facilitate Petro's removal.
That's huge. It must have deepened internal political rifts.
Profoundly. And raised very serious international concerns about foreign interference in Colombia's sovereign governance.
This Colombian revelation, it makes you think about historical memory and ongoing tensions elsewhere, too.
Like where?
RT reported that Polish President Andrzej Duda signed that controversial new law.
Officially recognizing the World War II-era massacres by Ukrainian nationalist groups OUN and UPA as genocide.
Yes. and designating July 11 as the National Day of Remembrance for Polish victims.
That's deeply emotional and predictably heightened tensions with Ukraine.
Especially since Ukraine continues to honor figures like Stepan Bandera as national heroes. It implicitly challenges Ukraine's national narrative, creating significant friction, revisiting historical wounds.
Right. Connecting this to broader regional stability, Al Jazeera reported on the potential of the DRC-Rwanda deal.
The Democratic Republic of Congo, the vast Central African country, trying to deliver peace to the conflict-prone Great Lakes region of Africa.
Yeah, the article delves into the intricate historical context. The immense complexities in resolving these long-standing, deeply rooted conflicts requires really sensitive diplomacy.
And in the UK, MPs controversially approved a plan to prescribe Palestine Action as a terrorist group.
BBC and Al Jazeera reported that. It ignited significant controversy, didn't it?
Big time. Raised profound concerns about freedom of speech, the labeling of activist groups. Critics argue it infringes on protester rights.
While supporters emphasize national security.
Exactly. And it connects directly to the UK's broader stance on Gaza, which is under intense scrutiny. From protest chants to supplying jet parts. Al Jazeera highlighted concerns about potential complicity. It's deeply polarizing.
Meanwhile, in Thailand, the Southeast Asian nation, the political crisis continues to deepen.
With the suspension of the prime minister, triggering significant turmoil.
Yes. Amidst persistent internal infighting, complex trade negotiations, that ongoing border dispute with Cambodia, and formidable economic challenges.
Al Jazeera reported they appointed yet another acting prime minister.
Reflecting deep-rooted structural challenges, a concerning pattern of instability.
And in Bangladesh, another South Asian nation, former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was sentenced to 6 months in prison for contempt of court.
And formally charged with crimes against humanity for that violent crackdown on anti-government protests in 2024. RT reported that.
Yes. Tried in absentia, as she's currently in India, underscores ongoing political instability, the fragile nature of democratic institutions there.
What's genuinely fascinating amidst so much division is the effort to rebuild trust globally. The UN reported on the Sevilla commitment.
Right, aiming to rebuild trust in global cooperation, emphasizing unity, collaboration to address shared challenges.
Setting a framework for more sustainable, effective international partnerships. It's an optimistic outlook, maybe a beacon of hope.
We can hope so. And further reflecting shifting global dynamics, DW reports Malaysia and Indonesia, key Southeast Asian nations, are actively strengthening ties with Russia.
Seeking enhanced diplomatic relations, exploring cooperation in defense, energy.
Various sectors. It reflects a deliberate strategic decision to diversify international relations, leverage Russia's global influence. A subtle shift away from exclusive Western alignment.
Finally, in Armenia, the country in the South Caucasus region, the National Assembly passed a controversial bill to nationalize Electric Networks of Armenia, ENA.
The key utility previously owned by billionaire Samvel Karapetyan.
Yes, who was recently arrested for allegedly calling for the overthrow of the government, RT reported.
This bold move, seen by some as potentially anti-Russian, given Karapetyan's ties,
has garnered significant condemnation from parts of the Armenian diaspora, highlighting internal divisions and external perceptions.
Global business, markets, and economy.
Okay, shifting gears now to the pulse of the global economy. Some significant market news.
Yeah. The S&P 500 hit a new record high. Futures rising after a better-than-expected June jobs report.
That's right. CNBC and Barron's reporting strong positive sentiment, robust investor confidence in the U.S. market.
Despite earlier reports suggesting gains were limited by weaker data. So a clear rebound in sentiment.
Exactly. But it's crucial to note this positive vibe isn't everywhere.
Oh, like where?
In the UK, for instance, the pound sterling dropped significantly due to uncertainty around Chancellor Rachel Reeves.
After her emotional appearance in the Commons during Prime Minister's questions, PMQs, that weekly fiery session.
Yes. BBC and the New York Times reported her visible distress seemed to have a tangible impact on investor confidence.
But then UK borrowing costs fell later.
Right. Fears receded after Prime Minister Keir Starmer publicly backed her, telling the BBC she was doing an excellent job. Shows how intertwined emotion and economics can be, short-term anyway.
Let's unpack this for a moment. A major food industry staple, Del Monte Foods.
Household name, canned goods.
Has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Seeking a buyer. Al Jazeera and the Washington Post reported this.
It's not just about sales figures, is it? Highlights a tectonic shift in consumer preferences.
Decline in demand for traditional canned goods as people move towards healthier, fresher, more sustainable options.
Exactly. For a legacy brand like Del Monte, built on convenience and shelf-stable products, this seismic shift means a fundamental reevaluation or, well, obsolescence.
A clear sign of evolving tastes in the food industry.
And what's fascinating is how companies are adapting or struggling. Intel's new CEO, for instance, is exploring a significant strategic pivot in chip manufacturing.
Aiming for radical innovation. Yahoo Finance reported that.
Yeah, a major strategic undertaking. And in the EV space, Lucid Motors is seeing gradual but steady sales increases.
As they focus on accelerating production of their Gravity SUV model, despite slower ramp-ups earlier, TechCrunch reported that.
Right, showing determination to meet market demands in that sector.
And another interesting one from TechCrunch. Rigetti Computing, a quantum computing stock, is skyrocketing today.
Prompting intense investor discussion about whether it's a good bet.
Yeah. And on the flip side, TikTok announced more layoffs in its U.S. e-commerce division, TikTok Shop.
The third round since April.
Yep. Part of a broader strategic review to optimize operations, according to TechCrunch, shows the dynamic, sometimes brutal nature of the tech industry.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the broader picture of global trade and industrial power, a prominent German industry leader, Stefan Scherer, CEO of AMG Lithium, issued a stark warning to RT. He cautioned the EU risks becoming a province of China.
Wow.
Profound dependence on Chinese raw materials, especially lithium refining China, handles about 60% of global production.
So he's saying without trade protections and stronger policy from Brussels,
European industries face accelerating decline, eroding autonomy and competitiveness. A very strong assessment of European vulnerability.
That's a powerful, unsettling statement. And it comes as Al Jazeera reports China is the EU's second-largest trading partner for goods after the U.S.
Trade volume hit $739 billion in 2023. Closer economic ties.
So it prompts a crucial question for the EU. How do they balance these strengthening economic ties with the real concerns about strategic dependence?
Especially with an ongoing influx of cheaper Chinese imports that could undercut European industries. It's a delicate, critical balance with huge geopolitical implications.
Definitely.
And speaking of economic shifts, the Japan Times reports a remarkable trend. Foreign investors buying Japanese stocks for 13 consecutive weeks until June 27th.
The longest streak since 2013.
Yes. This persistent buying, despite concerns about U.S. tariffs and sluggish domestic consumption in Japan, strongly suggests a shift in global investment strategies.
Diversifying away from U.S. equities. Seeing the Japanese market as a compelling alternative.
Seems that way. A sign of changing confidence in different global economies.
And in Russia, the auto sector took a big hit. New vehicle sales plummeted in the first half of 2025.
Down 28%. To just 607,500 units compared to the previous year, RT reported that, citing the Ministry of Industry and Trade.
Yeah, the decline hit nearly all segments, including a steep 54% drop in truck and bus sales.
Faintly illustrates the impact of broader economic conditions, sanctions, maybe shifting consumer confidence.
For sure.
Finally, we see major Western oil companies, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Total Energies Eni, competing fiercely for oil exploration rights in Libya.
The North African country. They launched their first licensing round since the 2011 uprising. RT reported that.
Yes. Libya holds Africa's largest proven oil reserves, estimated 48 billion barrels.
And aims to increase daily output from 1.4 million barrels to 2 million by 2030.
Ambitiously, yes. A major development for global energy markets, potentially impacting world supply, and huge for attracting foreign investment to help rebuild Libya.
And here's a unique economic point about the service industry. Al Jazeera reported on a survey.
What did it find?
83% of restaurant workers support a no tax on tips policy. But
it's always a but.
They argue concurrent benefits cuts undermine any positive impact. It's complex, highlighting the tricky balance between taxes, benefits, and worker earnings.
Definitely not as simple as it sounds. And if we connect this to the broader global demographic picture, RT reports South Korea, the East Asian nation, is facing an increasingly dire demographic crisis.
Projections indicate a potential population decline of up to 85% by 2125 if trends continue. That's staggering.
It is. The birth rate is extremely low, 0.75, far below replacement level. Population is rapidly aging, shrinking the base of potential parents.
And what's telling is that economic concerns are now reportedly overriding love when people consider marriage and childbearing.
A profound, troubling shift in societal priorities and family formation.
Scientific discoveries and technological advances.
Now let's lift our gaze up to the stars and then delve deep into our own planet's mysteries. NASA just released its July 2025 Skywatching Guide.
Highlighting some spectacular celestial events, I hear.
Yeah. Mars, prominently visible in the western evening sky, briefly joined by Mercury in the first week of July, best observed 30-45 minutes post-sunset.
Okay.
Venus dominates the eastern morning sky alongside Aldebaran and Capella. Jupiter rises to meet at mid-month.
Creating a scenic conjunction with the crescent moon on July 21 and 22.
Exactly. Sounds like a spectacular month for skywatchers.
And what's fascinating here, as NASA points out, is the historical context. July marks the 60th anniversary of Mariner 4's historic Mars flyby.
Returned the first ever close-up images of the red planet, changing everything.
Right. And building on that legacy, a Mars rover recently shed new light on the absence of life there.
Providing clues about unsustainable environmental conditions. Yahoo News reported that.
Yes. Despite decades of exploration, the search for definitive signs of life continues to face significant challenges, highlighted by this latest revelation.
And speaking of incredible space discoveries, it's official. NASA confirmed a new interstellar object.
11PL3Z zooming through our solar system. Science Alert and Yahoo News confirmed it.
Yep. Only the third ever confirmed interstellar object. Incredibly rare.
And it passes just inside Mars's orbit, posing no threat to Earth.
Correct. A rare, exciting cosmic visitor, offering a glimpse into other star systems.
Connecting this to our quest for knowledge, NASA's SphereX mission has launched.
The spectrophotometer for the history of the universe, Epoch of Reionization, and ISIS Explorer. Quite a name.
Indeed. Into low Earth orbit, aiming to create an unprecedented all-sky infrared map.
And what's unique, according to NASA, is its data is publicly available within 60 days.
Through the NASAPAC Infrared Science Archive, championing open science.
Potentially revolutionizing how scientists explore the cosmos, complementing data from Webb and others.
Absolutely. This commitment to open data will accelerate discovery on an unprecedented scale.
Moving from the cosmos to our own planet's deep past, Popular Mechanics reports a remarkable discovery in northern Quebec, Canada.
The large eastern province. What did they find?
A fragment of what's believed to be Earth's original crust, dating back 4.16 billion years.
Wow. Buried under rock samples, part of the Nouveau-Argentique greenstone belt.
Exactly, providing incredible insights into our planet's formative years, an exceptionally rare remnant given billions of years of geological change.
Like finding a needle in a cosmic haystack. And connecting this to fundamental biology, Popular Mechanics also reported something fascinating about sea anemones.
The brainless marine invertebrates.
Yeah. Scientists found they construct their bodies in a way surprisingly similar to bilaterians, the group, including humans.
Suggesting an ancient, common connection in basic structural organization.
Right. Could offer a blueprint for understanding the fundamental organization of the human body from an evolutionary perspective. Our shared heritage with seemingly simple organisms.
Here's where it gets really interesting, diving into the future of consciousness and tech. Researchers using AI to replicate the human mind's intricacies.
Aiming for deeper insights into its functions and complexities, the New York Times reported.
And even more mind-bending, Popular Mechanics detailed BrainNet.
The system enabling direct brain-to-brain communication, merging 3 human brains.
Yes, allowing people to silently play a Tetris-like game using only brainwaves, interpreted by EEGs and TMS.
Truly science fiction becoming reality. But it immediately prompts critical ethical considerations, doesn't it?
Privacy, consent, and thought transmission, entirely new questions.
Absolutely. And further blurring the lines, Popular Mechanics reported on the discovery of a third state of life that begins after death.
Where certain biological processes, cellular activity continue after an organism is clinically dead.
Yes. Researchers found some cells may reorganize into structures with a level of consciousness-like behavior, fundamentally challenging previous beliefs, potentially redefining life and death.
And another fascinating piece from Popular Mechanics, lucid dreaming.
The state where you're aware you're dreaming, maybe gain some control.
Right. Neuroscientists say it can transform your life. A tool for overcoming nightmares, treating phobias, creative problem solving.
Even practicing skills for physical activities or rehabilitation from trauma.
Exactly. The mind, even in sleep, holds incredible, largely untapped potential.
But AI isn't just about consciousness. It's rapidly impacting daily lives, jobs. TechCrunch reported AI job predictions have become corporate America's newest competitive sport.
With Anthropic's CEO warning half of entry-level jobs could vanish within 5 years, potentially pushing U.S. unemployment up to 20%.
A stark warning raises extremely important questions about the future of work, the need for policy interventions.
What's fascinating here is the intensifying global AI race. The Wall Street Journal, via RT, reports Western corporations HSBC, Standard Chartered, even Saudi Aramco are adopting or experimenting with Chinese AI models.
Developed by companies like DeepSeek and Alibaba, praised for comparable performance at significant lower costs.
Right. Even Google is rolling out its new VO3 video generation model globally, TechCrunch reported. Shows widespread adoption, increasing competitiveness of non-Western AI.
And if we connect this to the broader geopolitical picture, Chinese developers open sourcing their AI models enhances adaptability, global uptake.
Leading institutions like South Africa's University of the Witwatersrand, Japan's Ministry of Economy to prefer Chinese models.
Yeah. This concerns industry leaders and policymakers in the West, worrying about diluted U.S. influence in global AI standards.
And the potential for Chinese models to promote China's digital norms worldwide.
Exactly. It's rapidly becoming a strategic contest, shaping future geopolitical influence and tech leadership.
And on the development side, NASA awarded a $150 million contract for Simulation and Advanced Software Services 2, SAS-2, to McLean Engineering.
Effective October 1st, 2025, to enhance future space exploration, training programs, modeling space vehicles, human biomechanics, NASA reported that.
Yep. Plus, Israeli quantum startup Kedma just secured $26 million in funding, with IBM joining in,
bringing Kedma's total funding to $280 million, making them a key player in quantum computing. TechCrunch reports significant investments in future tech.
Definitely.
And for another technological leap, the Japan Times reports Japan plans a world-first deep-sea mineral extraction.
Attempting to extract rare earth minerals from the ocean floor in January. Deepest trial of its kind.
Yes. Japan collaborated with the U.S., India, and Australia to ensure a stable supply of these critical minerals, essential for modern tech. Major implications for global supply chains, resource geopolitics.
And keeping an eye on everyday tech. McRumors reports the latest leaks reveal the battery capacity of the iPhone 17 Pro Max,
hinting at Apple's focus on a battery-first design for its upcoming flagship. Good news for heavy users.
Health, safety, and societal trends.
Let's turn our attention now to health and safety, starting with some practical advice for coffee lovers.
Oh, yeah.
Yahoo News reports drinking black coffee could potentially contribute to longevity, according to recent studies.
While the exact mechanisms are still being studied,
it's suggested consuming coffee without additives, so maybe skip the cream and sugar, may offer health benefits, potentially extending lifespan. Interesting thought.
While that's pleasant, there are also some very serious public health warnings. The FDA in the U.S. issued an urgent recall
for 400 boxes of blueberries due to listeria contamination.
Yeah.
Elevated to the highest level. The Independent reported that.
Yes. Consumers strongly advised to check their products immediately, refrain from consuming if affected. Critical alert.
And a very concerning health story from the UK. BBC reports a woman was left fighting for her life
after receiving fake Botox injections from an unlicensed beautician in County Durham, England, northeast England.
Yes, the beautician issued an apology, but it starkly highlights the dangers of counterfeit, unregulated cosmetic procedures.
Underscores the critical need for consumers to meticulously verify credentials. Only use licensed professionals. Life-threatening consequences are possible.
This tragic incident naturally prompts questions about oversight and regulation, especially in sensitive areas.
Like what?
Reuters reports a U.S. FTC workshop criticizing aspects of medical care for transgender youth faced opposition from its own staff.
Focused on examining unfair or deceptive trade practices and gender-affirming care for minors.
Right. Indicates differing perspectives within the regulatory body, highlights the legal and ethical complexity of these charged discussions, reflects broader societal debates. And here's a policy U-turn that has businesses scrambling. Al Jazeera reports Thailand, the Southeast Asian nation, is abruptly tightening restrictions on cannabis sales.
Just 3 years after loosening them?
Yep. A major, swift reversal impacting countless businesses that sprang up after initial legalization. A disruptive shift, potential financial losses for a whole industry.
And if we connect this to global health cooperation, RT reports Russia's health watchdog, Rospotrebnadzor launched advanced training courses in Kampala, Uganda.
The capital of the East African nation, aimed at improving Uganda's capacity to combat infectious diseases like Ebola Sudan virus.
Yes. Part of Russia's broader strategic engagement in Africa, reflecting their health diplomacy, building partnerships, extending influence.
Now to some major crime stories making headlines. The high-profile trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs concluded.
Captivating public attention. What was the verdict?
Mixed. Al Jazeera, NYT, Yahoo, RT, all reported. Guilty on 2 lesser felony counts related to transportation for prostitution.
But acquitted of the more serious sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges.
Correct. Denied bail by Judge Aaron Subramanian, awaiting sentencing, tentatively set for October 3, 2024.
What's fascinating, as legal experts told the Washington Post, is the racketeering charge may have been a stretch. The jury rejected the criminal enterprise theory.
Highlights the complexities of prosecuting influential figures.
Definitely, and raises profound questions about domestic abuse, power, coercion within celebrity circles. Cassie Ventura's attorney commended her bravery in coming forward.
Another major case resolved. Brian Koberger, the PhD criminology student accused of murdering 4 Idaho students in 2022.
Pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. BBC, Al Jazeera, NYT reported.
Yes, his admission brings some closure. AP News noted crucial evidence. A Q-tip, a spotless car, linking him to the crimes. Chilling reminder of forensic work.
This case prompts questions about the legal system's transparency, efficiency. The BBC reported child grooming investigations in Manchester, UK.
The city in northwest England, facing delays.
Yes, due to extensive redactions of evidence by the Manchester City Council, hindering progress in sensitive cases, raises concerns about timely justice protecting vulnerable individuals.
And an alarming incident reported by RT, a 22-year-old Russian woman apprehended in St. Petersburg, the northwestern Russian city.
By the FSB, Russia's security agency, what was she doing?
Allegedly attempting to plant a bomb under a car belonging to a defense industry employee. FSB claims she acted for Ukrainian special services.
Offered sabotage in exchange for help leaving Russia, securing EU citizenship. Points to serious covert operations, broadening conflict scope.
Undeniably underscores persistent covert ops, deep tensions linked to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, extending beyond battlefields.
And in another U.S. legal development, the DOJ indicted a suspect notorious for delivering protective gear to anti-ICE protesters on live TV. Fox News reported that. Legal consequences for interfering with federal operations.
Al Jazeera also provided a rare inside look at the Sinaloa cartel, the powerful Mexican drug trafficking organization.
A cartel member spoke to them about the ongoing faction war within the cartel.
Yes, shedding light on internal power struggles, violent divisions, could disrupt drug trade operations, continues to impact communities affected by cartel violence. Grim picture.
Yeah.
From the serious to the seriously strange. Al Jazeera reports a flight in Australia.
The country and continent down under.
Delayed 2 hours because of wait for it.
Yeah.
Snake out a plane.
Seriously. The discovery led to an interruption. Authorities scrambled. Passengers surprised.
All the above. I mean, what is it with snakes and planes? Seems like a movie plot, not real life.
Indeed. And the sources don't even say how it got there. Leaves you wondering, maybe a very unusual carry-on. Anyway, on a much more somber note, tragically, several maritime accidents recently.
Yeah, DW, BBC, Al Jazeera, RT reported extensively about that ferry, the KMP Tunu Pratamajaya.
Sinking near Bali, Indonesia, carrying 65 people.
Yes. Initial reports, 4 dead, dozens missing. Later updated to 5 or 6 confirmed dead. Search and rescue hampered by rough seas, high waves. Devastating.
And in Somalia, the East African nation, a military helicopter operated by the Ugandan forces, UPDF,
part of the African Union peacekeeping mission,
crashed at Mogadishu's airport, killing 5 of the 8 personnel on board, RT reported.
And 3 civilians wounded due to onboard munitions detonating.
Tragically, yes. Starkly highlights the ongoing dangers, human cost faced by peacekeeping forces in conflict zones. Immense risks.
And domestically in the U.S., tens of millions traveling for the 4th of July holiday. CBS News reporting that.
Prepare for crowded airports, highways, the annual migration, one of the busiest travel periods. Reminder of the massive logistics involved. A challenge for infrastructure and patience.
Sports and culture.
Moving to sports. where we start with profoundly heartbreaking news that shocked the football world.
Oh no, what happened?
Liverpool and Portugal forward Diogo Jota, just 28, tragically died in a car crash in Spain, near Palacios de Sanabria, Zamora province.
Along with his brother Andre Silva. BBC, Al Jazeera RT reported this. That's awful.
Tributes pouring in. Cristiano Ronaldo expressed disbelief, sorrow, saying, "It doesn't make sense. Liverpool FC devastated."
A natural goal scorer. 182 appearances, 65 goals, contributed to Premier League, FA Cup wins, 49 caps for Portugal, an immense sudden loss.
What's striking is the sheer outpouring of grief globally, underscores the profound emotional impact athletes have beyond the field. Their stories resonate deeply.
Absolutely. On a different, more uplifting tennis note, British player Emma Raducanu secured a significant victory
Over the 2023 champion Marketa Vondrousova in the Miami Open, advancing to face Aryna Sabalenka. BBC reported that. Big win for her.
And speaking of tennis, order seems restored at Wimbledon 2025. Carlos Alcaraz, men's second seed, Aryna Sabalenka, women's top seed.
Easing comfortably into their third rounds, Al Jazeera reported, reminding everyone why they're top seeds.
In cricket, India captain Shubman Gill's patient century held up England on day one of the second test at Edgbaston, UK.
India finishing 3-10-5, BBC and Al Jazeera reported. Tactical masterclass.
And for boxing fans, exciting news. Tyson Fury is set to come out of retirement in 2026.
Hinting at a trilogy bout with Alexander Usyk at Wembley Stadium, UK in April, BBC reported. Massive event.
Also baseball. Clayton Kershaw, LA Dodgers pitcher, became the 20th member of the 3,000 strikeout club in MLB history.
Huge achievement, solidifying his place among the greats. Remarkable longevity and skill.
And in football, Arsenal's attacking lineup undergoing a refresh, showing promising signs.
New additions, tactical adjustments aimed at enhancing attacking prowess, BBC reported. Fans eager to see if it translates to more goals, wins. Switching gears to culture and entertainment. Fans of Lord's latest album, Virgin, are frustrated.
Why?
The CDs reportedly won't even work in standard CD players, according to the BBC.
Talk about a baffling disconnect between artist intent and audience experience.
Yeah.
Very modern problem for a classic format.
Right, maybe it is a commentary on physical media. And speaking of music that works, Italian-born reggae artist Al Barossi returning to NYC.
Live performance at Sony Hall, August 4th, 2025, ahead of his 9th studio album, 9 Mile. News America's now reported.
Yep. Also, K-pop sensation Blackpink back on tour with their Deadline World Tour starting July 5th.
Creating immense excitement globally, DW reported. Reaffirming their status as a K-pop phenomenon, major force in global music, shows the power of live performance.
And some interesting movie TV news. Neil Druckmann, co-creator of The Last of Us, exited the HBO series ahead of season 3.
Raising questions about creative direction, future narrative. Variety reported. Fans will be curious.
On a lighter note, stars of the new Superman reboot expressing a desire for more kindness in the world.
Reflecting on what the superhero would make of today's society, BBC reported. Timely message, maybe? Power of fiction reflecting reality.
Perhaps. Finally, a cultural event stirred controversy. Punk rap duo Bob Vylan, removed from a music festival lineup after a Glastonbury controversy.
Claimed they were targeted for addressing issues related to Palestine, sparking debate.
Yeah. The BBC also reported the BBC itself deemed Bob Vylan high risk before Glastonbury. Plans to discontinue high-risk live performances after this.
Starkly highlights ongoing debates about freedom of expression, activism in music, the tightrope artists, walk blending art and politics, especially sensitive topics.
And for a bit of celebrity social media buzz, Yahoo reports Sophie Cunningham's twerking video went viral.
While Caitlin Clark's rejection of a fan request also got attention, sparked discussion.
Exactly. Just shows you never know what moment will capture the internet's imagination next.
Outro. Wow, what an exhaustive deep dive into the latest from around the globe.
We really covered a lot of ground.
Spanned everything from celestial discoveries, ancient Earth crust, to political battles in Washington, heartbreaking sports news. It's a lot to take in.
Definitely.
But hopefully after sifting through these layers, you now feel a little more in the know, better equipped to understand the world.
Absolutely. Today's news truly emphasizes the profound interconnectedness of our world, doesn't it?
Yeah, how political decisions impact markets.
How scientific breakthroughs challenge our understanding of life.
And how deeply human stories unfold amidst these vast global events.
And what's fundamentally fascinating is how multiple, often conflicting perspectives are always at play, shaping narratives, influencing outcomes.
And how essential it is to consider them all for a complete picture.
Precisely.
So what does this all mean for you, our dedicated listener? It means staying relentlessly curious.
Always asking probing questions. Consistently looking for the why and how behind the headlines. As we've seen, the current of information can be overwhelming, often polarized.
But understanding the underlying currents, the motivations, the diverse viewpoints, that's key to navigating our complex world with clarity.
Which brings us to an important question for you to ponder long after this deep dive concludes. In a world where information spreads so rapidly, perspectives can be so incredibly polarized. How do you personally ensure you're actively seeking out diverse viewpoints?
And consciously avoiding those echo chambers in your own consumption of news, especially on topics where there's such stark disagreement, where the truth can feel elusive.
That's a truly profound thought to chew on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the stories shaping our world.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep being incredibly well informed.